everybody, especially Dirty Bird Nation. This is, they call me the Deacon David Schiele, I guess. That's MiAsia Symone, not your Asia, MiAsia. This is
how did you know to say that?
Because that's how you introduced yourself to me. When I first met you,
yes.
I said, hey, how you doing? She said, hey, I'm MiAsia. I said, what's your name again? You said, it's like your Asia, but it's MiAsia. I was like, I'm never going to forget that.
You're on it.
I got it, yeah. So this is Talking Dirty, man. Premiere episode. We're going to be previewing that schedule, though.
Yes. I want to welcome everybody. We're going to be talking football. We're going to be talking all things Falcons. So get ready. Get your pen and paper out because we're going to want your feedback as well.
We're going to get straight into it. There's a lot of things different about the 2020 Atlanta Falcons compared to last year. In fact, it's been 4 seasons since the Falcons have gone to the, and you take that team in 2016 to now, there's so many things different. What's going on with the Falcons that's new going into 2020, MiAsia?
Well, I mean, of course, we have Todd Gurley, who's everyone's been talking about. He's our trade in, and then we also have Dante Fowler. We have Tyler Davison. They let go of Vic Beasley and Adrian Claiborne. We also have our number 1 pick, AJ Terrell. It's just like Marlon Davidson. I can't forget about him either. I think that what we're looking at is a little bit of a revamp, but it's still a lot of structure there. We still have chemistry. And so I think that the pieces that we have, they should fill in just fine with no major issues.
For sure. I think one of the things that's concerning about this team isn't necessarily the talent. I feel like in the NFL, it goes one or two ways. Either the GM doesn't know how to pick them or the coach doesn't know how to coach them. Right. And I think we've seen a little bit of a mix of both because as you look throughout the history of the Atlanta Falcons in their draft history since Dan Quinn has taken over, a lot of those guys have not stuck around. I think we looked at that 2015 draft and there were a lot of starters that came from that. Right. Vic Beasley came out of that draft. We also saw Tevin Coleman come out of that draft. They're no longer with Atlanta. Jalen Collins as well, and he's no longer in Atlanta. But you do see that 2016 draft with Deion Jones. You also get Keanu Neal. That was a very good draft. But I think you go back and that draft history has not been the best.
Right. That's
for Atlanta.
Definitely true.
So I think some of his best picks are, Deion Jones, Grady Jarrett, of course. But outside of that,
I guess my question to you would be like, before we went into the actual draft, what did you see the Falcons needed before we actually picked who was drafted?
I had been saying Atlanta needs to fix its pass rush. Atlanta has had an issue with finding a consistent pass rusher since John Abraham left Atlanta. Okay. And the thing is, Vic Beasley in 2016 led the league in sacks, and everyone thought Atlanta had the new pass rusher. Right. You go ahead and get Takk McKinley and think that there's going to be bookends. Well, Takk McKinley hasn't produced. He got denied his 5th-year option, and now Vic Beasley is no longer in Atlanta. So Atlanta had to go find that, in my opinion.
Right.
I think the biggest thing of, Atlanta's going to trade up and get Chase Young, I didn't think that was true. I didn't think they were going to trade all the way up and grab Chase Young. Right. But I did believe Atlanta needed to find somebody to be a formidable presence in their front seven. And I think the Niners kind of did something on purpose when they took Kinlaw, because although he's a good player, they didn't need him in the front seven. They didn't really need him there. But he's a good player. But and Kyle Shanahan knew that Atlanta was eyeing him and was trying to draft him. So Atlanta went ahead, and I believe they settled and reached a little bit for AJ Terrell, who everyone talks about the national championship game where he got absolutely torched and he was trending. Number 8 was trending because people were trying to figure out who in the world number 8 was and why he was getting beaten down like he forgot to take the chicken out the freezer in front of the whole nation. Exactly. So, that part scares me a little bit. But, Marlon Davidson, though, that's my favorite pick of the draft. Easy.
Yeah, me too. I think that with the Falcons, we needed that extra oomph. That's someone who was going to come in and be a fear factor, like someone who was going to put fear in people's hearts. And I just think with him on that field, the way he was speaking in that press conference, he's definitely on a road to like being one of my favorites as well. And I think another thing that was actually pretty cool, well, I think I already knew this was going to happen. At first, they were talking about like moving to a 3-4 defense base package, but I didn't feel the need, or I didn't see that was going to be anything, or why was it even a discussion. With us running a 4-3 base package, I think that is very, very necessary, and I don't see us changing that anytime soon, especially with Dan Quinn being head coach.
Yeah, Dan Quinn really believes in this 4-3 system. I mean, he used it. He used it in Seattle. It's really it's like a 4-3 under, having that Leo position, which where he had Big Beasley standing up, or set down. Either you would be in a 4-point stance, or maybe even a 2-point stance, and you would rush at a wide angle, and he believes in that zone defense in the back end, and teams really exposed that in the 2019 season. They really exposed it. Deshaun Watson did a number on it, scoring over 50 points. So you look at that defense, and it really needed to be restructured. I think Atlanta has done a lot of things, not just this season, but last season, when Dan Quinn said, I'm going to be the defensive coordinator and I'm going to take over. And then he said, I can't do it no more because it ain't working. I'm trying to do my head coaching duties and call the defense, and it was not working. So when they changed things up, allowed a combination of coaches to call plays. They had a guy call plays on first and second down. They had a whole nother man call plays on third down. And it started working. You won at New Orleans. You won at San Francisco. So there's proof that the defense can work, but just trying to figure that out needs to be, you need to iron that out. So they actually hired 2 guys from Cleveland. One of them will be the offensive, not offense. He's going to be the passing game defensive coordinator. Another one will be on the running game. So his name is Tosh Lupoe. I believe that's how you say his last name. He's going to take care of the running game. Yeah, that's how you take care of the running game. And then Joe Witt Jr. is going to take care of the passing game. And then now one of Dan Quinn's very good friends and former head coach, Raheem Morris, is taking over the defensive coordinator duties in Atlanta.
All right. Well, speaking of defense, we have Fowler and Bailey starting at edge, and then of course we got Brady Jarrett and Marlon Davidson on the defensive tackle. Do you agree with that? Or I think it's projected, but do you agree with that lineup starting out?
I think you definitely want Fowler on the edge. And having a rotation is another thing that Dan Quinn has liked to do on the defensive line, trying to bring in fresh guys, because I think it's a very nice thing to have fresh defensive ends, fresh pass rushers coming in, and then you can save some guys for third down. You have your run stuffers on first and second, and then on third down, you got a guy who can just pin his ears back and just go get him. So, having Tyke McKinley, Alan Bailey, Dante Fowler, I think it's an all right combination right now. It's kind of ironic that Dante Fowler was selected in the same first round that Atlanta chose Big Beasley. And now it's like, okay, here you are again with another first round pick from 2015. This one better work out. Dan Quinn knows he's on the hot seat. Atlanta's got to win some games this year, and that front seven is, we'll see what they can do. But of course, having Brady Jarrett in the middle. And then seeing how Marlon Davidson comes up next to him, I think that'll be very formidable, that duo.
I think ideally the main thing would be to have a good balance. I mean, we have like to have a good balance of rushing the passer and then also getting the stops. And I just feel like our defense is kind of like that. I mean, last year, of course, it wasn't too bad. It's just that we couldn't stay healthy. And so I feel like if we're more healthy this year, and we're focused and locked in with each other, the chemistry will be there, and defense will definitely be a force to be reckoned with.
For sure. I am worried about the secondary. There's a lot of youth in that secondary. Kendall Sheffield, Isaiah Oliver, AJ Terrell. Keanu Neal is coming off of turning his Achilles and his ACL, back-to-back seasons.
Exactly.
And then having Ricardo Allen, I think, is necessary. He's kind of the brains of that defense. He is incredibly, incredibly smart. And a physical player. So he's one guy in the secondary I am excited about, but everybody else I'm a little concerned about.
Right, well, let's move on into this division competition. Of course, we have one of the toughest divisions. We do have the toughest division in the country right now, NFC South. How do you feel about the division as a whole?
Yeah, this division is incredibly strong. I mean, you look at the 4 quarterbacks. You've got Teddy Bridgewater, Tom Brady now, Matt Ryan, and Drew Brees. And that is crazy. We're talking about 4 men. 2 of them were Super Bowl champions.
Exactly.
Of course, and Matt Ryan's been an MVP Teddy Bridgewater, before his tragic injury that took place in Minnesota, he was a guy that were like, man, he's going to be a franchise quarterback one day, and maybe he still has a chance to do that now that he's with Carolina.
Exactly.
But that is a really strong group of quarterbacks in the NFC South. I mean, you have to disrespect it.
I definitely agree. I mean, I think personally this will be the battle of the three-headed monster besides Carolina. I mean, obviously each team, I think we have that triple threat. Like if you were thinking of basketball, the big three, I think that each team can arguably have a big three besides Carolina Panthers. And so for the Falcons overall, I feel like we need to not lose to the Panthers at all. We have to take both home and away games for the division.
That's important. And beating Carolina has not been difficult for James Quinn since he's taken over. I mean, look, beating Carolina is one of those things that kind of become a rarity, or not rare. It's actually become pretty commonplace. Losing to Carolina is a little bit rare. And he's, they have new head coach. So, Matt Rule, Aaron New's gone. So who knows which Carolina Panthers the Falcons will see coming into 2020. That's going to be an interesting matchup, especially with one of those games being in prime time.
Exactly, and I definitely agree.
As far as we know right now, the Saints are still, even with Tom Brady being in Tampa Bay, the Saints are still favored to win the NFC South.
Yes.
The biggest thing,
unfortunately,
division, which is very unfortunate. But
yes.
I mean, you look, they even when people have looked at the Saints schedule and counted them out. And, one of my group chats, we do this every single year. The Saints schedule is hard. This is the year they fall off. This is the year they fall off. This year they fall off. And they haven't done it. They've been eliminated in the playoffs in a very unfortunate way, but they have not fallen off of a cliff. That has not happened. So I don't expect them to fall off of a cliff. I stopped doing that to myself because then I get angry when they start winning.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. Like Falcons, every season you're going to have a love-hate relationship, and they're going to do the opposite of what you think they're going to do. When we're supposed to win, we always surprise the other way. It's always so opposite. But I think with 3 future Hall of Famers in this actual division is very, very important, and I can say that because it's one of those things where it can go either way for any team. At home or away, it can be something as small as, is it raining outside, or did somebody oversleep, or I think it's pretty close. I don't want to count the Panthers completely out of that, but I think definitely with the Saints, the Falcons, and the Buccaneers, it's going to be pretty even. I think we're going to have a split. All 3 of us are going to have a split each way, home and away, 1-1.
That's fair. And the records never matter in a divisional matchup.
Right.
Atlanta went to Tampa Bay, won in overtime in Week 17, and Tampa Bay kind of wiped the floor with them.
Right.
In the bins.
Right.
And then you look at Atlanta going to New Orleans as a 1-17.
Yes.
Beating New Orleans when New Orleans was on an absolute roll. And then of course, you take the Panthers, or not the Panthers, but you take Tampa Bay and New Orleans, and those two, they end up having some kind of crazy battle with a crazy ending every now and again. And now that Tom Brady is there, who knows?
I think the question of today that I've been hearing a lot of, obviously everybody's been talking about it. People are excited. We pray that COVID-19 doesn't push the season back at all, because we would love to start on time. But the main question that a lot of people are asking today is, which quarterback has the most pressure out of Drew Brees and Tom Brady? Who do you think has the most pressure to win and lead their team?
It's definitely Tom Brady, because he's in an entirely new environment and he's no longer with Bill Belichick. People have always said Tom Brady's a system guy. Now, there's, of course, plenty of people who believe he's the GOAT.
Okay.
Of course. But there's also those who say, okay, without Bill, who is Tom? And without Tom, who is Bill?
Right.
And now that they're separated, it's time for them to kind of prove that and see what they can do. So there's pressure on Brady to kind of prove who he really is, because he no longer has that system of Bill Belichick, and he really has to rely on all of his experience and everything, and bring it to an entirely different team in a new area. I mean, it's crazy to even think that he's not a Patriot, but he 100% has the pressure. Drew Brees, we know he's getting up there in age. He's not getting any younger. But still a solid quarterback who can manage a game and can still lead a touchdown drive almost at will. And it's important to understand that guy
has done that for the past. He's done that for the past few seasons. I mean, for as long as we can remember. Yeah.
And every time they say he's gonna fall off that cliff, he doesn't do it. So we are now gonna go ahead and get into the schedule.
Okay.
We're gonna break this thing down. We're gonna go game by game.
I'm ready.
Here's the thing. We got 16 games to talk about.
Yes.
Not a lot of time. So you got about 2 minutes. So we both get about 60 seconds or so.
Right.
For these games. So we got to make it quick, make it snappy. So MiAsia, I'm gonna go ahead and have you take the spotlight. Week 1, September 13th. Of course, is we'll see what happens with this whole pandemic. But September 13th, 1 p.m. hosting Seattle to start the 2020 season. What's your thoughts?
So last year, of course, we lost to them 27-20. I couldn't really recall exactly what happened that game, but if I can remember, Matt Ryan didn't see a lot of the field that game. So
he didn't play. Yeah,
he didn't play at all. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and count this as a win. And the reason why I say that is because with us missing our starting quarterback, we have better chances this year just as a whole. Now, Russell Wilson is definitely a quarterback that you can't cough or sneeze at. Like, he's literally a very strong factor. He has Tyler Lockett and Chris Carlson, but I still don't think that with our three-headed monster and who we are this year on offense, adding Todd Gurley, I really feel like we should be able to walk away with this win.
Yeah, this is a tough game out of the gate because Seattle is a very good team.
Mm-hmm.
I think that offensive line is a big question mark for those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Wilson, of course, being the quarterback that he is, even with the bad offensive line, he can throw out of the pocket. He can throw on the run with the best of them. He's basically kind of an escape artist, so that's something that's tough there.
Mm-hmm.
What Atlanta's offense is able to do will be interesting, of course, with adding Todd Gurley, having Hayden Hurst, having Laquan Treadwell to go along with Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. That's we'll see what Dirk Cutter can do with that. This is to me, he's been given an open book test.
Yes.
And if you fail an open book test, something wrong with you. So,
exactly.
Well, that's an easy first test
Mm-hmm.
For us to find out if he's serious this year or if he's not. So I don't know if it's a win or loss, but I do say Atlanta in home openers has been pretty strong, so I'll give Atlanta the win.
Yeah. All right. So we're 1-0 right now.
1-0.
All right. So week 2, we're headed to Dallas. What do you think about this game?
Yeah, that one right there is gonna be a really big test for that defense. I think week 1 is a test as well. I mean, we're talking about DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, and Russell Wilson. But now we're going to Ezekiel Elliott, CeeDee Lamb, right?
Yeah.
And CeeDee Lamb has got nothing but, I mean, first of all, the man's speed is out of this world.
Right.
And I think, again, the secondary is my biggest concern with this Falcons team. So, that's going to be a test there. And Atlanta and Dallas, it doesn't happen too often, to be honest with you, since Atlanta left the NFC West. But this one, it's going to be tough. And, I don't necessarily see Atlanta coming out with the win right now. I'm not necessarily confident in a lot of these games that we're going to talk about. But I would say at this point, Atlanta's 1-1.
Well, I would say now this is one that I really, really had a hard time trying to determine a win or loss as well. But I do think it's closer to an even matchup. We both had disappointing years with them being like Atlanta's sweetheart team and with us being who we are, and people thought that we were going to show up in games that we didn't show up. I just feel like we both, with our defenses, we had to both make adjustments. And so it's really hard to call because we don't actually know what our defense is going to do. We know what we're projected to do, but we've had that based on the Falcons' history. We can think one thing and it'll go another. So I'm just going to say, I'm going to go ahead and take the 1-1 as well because, with Ezekiel Elliott, with DeMarcus Lawrence, with people who we would literally need to make a crucial stop, at least a few crucial stops, and it will be a determining factor between the turnovers, who has the least amount of turnovers as well.
Exactly. Okay, so we're moving on. Atlanta comes back home
Okay.
There's going to be a lot of alternating home and away in this schedule. But Atlanta's coming back home, and they're going to be taking on the Chicago Bears on September 27th. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we have we're facing Khalil Mack, Mitch Trubisky. Now, I was excited to see that Nick Foles is coming in, but they're going to fight it out this year. We don't know who's going to actually start as a quarterback. I mean, of course, Mitch was he's already kind of been listed as a draft bust, which is unfortunate. But I do feel like between him and Nick Foles, or however they decide to go, however they decide to match them up with Brady. I mean, I'm sorry, not Brady, with Matt Ryan. It's going to be an easy win. It's not much of a worry, I don't think. And they have great defense, but like I said, I love the way that our new defenses were in the direction that we're headed. So I'm going to go ahead and count this one as a win for us. So it's 2-1.
Yeah, I agree. I think Atlanta goes 2-1 after week 3. The Bears, they don't know who their starting quarterback's going to be. They will always haunt them. They passed on Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson to get this guy, Mitchell Trubisky, and even traded up to get Mitchell Trubisky, and they were wrong.
Right.
That doesn't matter to me who the quarterback is. I think Atlanta does what it needs to do to take down the Bears. I do think one thing that could cause them an issue is Tariq Cohen. Outside of that, not necessarily worried about anybody.
Right.
Allen Robinson's a good guy. Cordell Patterson is a good player. Khalil Mack, of course. But if Atlanta can handle that, they should be able to win this game.
Okay. All right, week 4, we head to Green Bay, take on the Packers. What do you feel about overall? I want to know about like their defense. How do you view their defense versus ours?
So here's the thing about this matchup.
Okay.
The Packers used to be a team, even though they didn't play too many times, but the Packers were a team that Dan Quinn really owned back when they had Mike McCarthy.
Right.
So that team was someone Atlanta could handle. Mike McCarthy gets fired, new head coach comes in, Atlanta gets beaten down by Green Bay.
Right.
And now here they are, this Monday night game here, taking on Green Bay. That team was a very, very quiet elite team, I feel like.
Okay.
They were a very elite team going into the playoffs, and they just they ran into a tough matchup, but they did, in my honest opinion, they had a really good chance to go into the Super Bowl. And their defense doesn't have a lot of names on it, but that defense makes plays. Right. A guy that everybody has to look out for, Jair Alexander, cornerback.
Okay.
Very good corner. I anticipate he's on Julio Jones. Gets him a very tough matchup. So that would force Matt Ryan to look elsewhere. And then you take a look at their front seven. They have Kenny Clark, Tyler Lancaster. Like I said, they're not a team full of names, but they are a team that is very solid. So Monday night game, you're going to Green Bay, which is not easy to win in Green Bay. Last time that happened on Monday night, it was a classic game. Atlanta almost came back and won, but they fell just short. So I don't necessarily see Atlanta winning this.
I don't see Atlanta. Well, I'm not going to say completely I don't see us winning it, but I feel like with the new pieces that they have to get adjusted to each other. And their lack of chemistry could potentially be our advantage. And so I think it's going to be a close game. Are we walking away with the W? This is always the hardest decision to me, because the Falcons are so unpredictable. I'm going to go ahead and say that because it's on the road, more than likely, Packers will walk away with this one.
Okay, so that's 2-2.
2-2.
2-2. Heading back home to host Carolina. You've already said Atlanta needs to sweep Carolina, but will they win this first one?
They're definitely going to win it. You have Teddy Bridgewater, of course. You have Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, I feel, are going to be top players or people like the players that people are looking at. I just don't see, regardless of what is going on or what happens in the game or how whatever plays are being played, I really feel like we just can't afford to take this loss from Carolina at all. And that's, like I said, home or away. We can't afford to take it. So I don't even want to look too deep into it because my whole mind is we have to beat them. We have to focus. We have to buckle down. We have to go to bed early at night. We have to eat right because this is a game that we cannot lose.
this is going to be a tough game, and it's tough because of the type of quarterback Teddy Bridgewater is. A dual threat guy, hard to contain, and then you add the speed that they have. Christian McCaffrey being incredibly fast, and he just continues to get stronger. DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson coming over from the Jets. It's a team that's going to have some talent on offense. The thing that's going to hurt Carolina this year is the fact that Luke Kuechly retired.
Right.
And Luke Kuechly being in the middle of he was a quarterback of that defense, incredibly talented, one of the best natural linebackers with the greatest football IQ. Not having him there will hurt them. So Atlanta's going to win this game. And
Cam was there as well, right? But he left. He's now a free agent, correct?
Cam Newton is no longer in Carolina yet. So they let him go. Mm-hmm. And now he's thinking about taking a backup role because, I mean, it's just no one wants him as a starter, which is very odd to me. There's a few teams I know he can start on.
New England. No, well, New England.
Well, he wouldn't fit New England. That's the problem.
Okay.
Someone who went to Westlake High School in Boston, it ain't gonna work.
It's not gonna work. Okay.
Yeah, no.
All right. So Minnesota Vikings, week 6, October 18th. It's getting ready to get chilly outside. We are headed there. What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, good thing about this game is that it will be inside.
Okay.
That's the best thing about Minnesota. It's because they like to cover their field up. So I'm excited that it will be indoors.
Yes.
But last year, oh my goodness, it was tough.
Yes.
My Atlanta got beat so bad in that week 1 game. It was embarrassing. Kirk Cousins, Adam Thielen is now the number 1 receiver because they no longer have Stephon Diggs. Surprising that they let him go the way they did. And but what is going to be tough is Dalvin Cook.
Yes.
Dalvin Cook, man, he hurt Atlanta bad. And I think the biggest thing is it's their coaching staff has always been able to pick apart Atlanta.
Well, you can't forget about Kyle Rudolph as well. You can't forget about him.
Very, very, very solid tight end. Very solid tight end. My thing about this game is it's a bad matchup for Atlanta.
Yes.
You look at it, and you're like, this is not a good matchup.
Yes, statistically, physically, all of the above. I mean, you have a great team who went 10-6 last year. So I don't see them falling off. I don't see them being any less or more consistent. It's just one of those things where they're in their prime right now, and I don't see the Falcons walking away with the W with the Vikings.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. That's not going to happen. Can't see it. Mike Zimmer's a good coach. Don't see that one happening.
Yes.
Week 7, back at home.
Yes.
Taking on the Detroit Lions. Give me your thoughts on the type of matchup that the Lions bring into the Bins on October 25th.
Well, of course, you have Matthew Stafford, quarterback, Marvin Jones, wide receiver, Jamie Collins, linebacker. I don't really know, their complete lineup or who to, actually look at because the Detroit Lions have always had, this season that, most people don't really look into. And then when you watch the games, you're kind of more so looking at the opponent's strengths over their strengths. And so I don't really know. I just know, with Atlanta, this will be more on us to just step up and just make sure we're super focused. I don't think that this game needs to be close. We need to walk away with this W. So I'm going to go ahead and take this W because I'm going to hope and pray that the Falcons are focused that day because I believe that with the abilities that we have, we should be able to walk away with it.
Well, I'm going to let you know right now that the Lions have always found a way to make things difficult for Atlanta for no reason.
Right.
For no reason.
Right.
2017, it came down literally to an inch and a rule that the clock had to run. They had to have a runoff, and that's why Atlanta won because of a tackle made, really not even a tackle, because we touched Golden Tate's shoulder at the 1-yard line.
Right.
And he was down. They had to run the clock. So you go from there. And then you look back. They had a game in London against Detroit.
You don't have to go to London this year. Good thing.
No, so that's not going to happen this year. So Atlanta doesn't get their home game.
Yeah.
So you look at this matchup. Trey Flowers is on that defense.
Yes.
So they have a pass rusher. Desmond Trufant will be making his return to Atlanta as a Detroit Lion.
Definitely forgot.
That's going to be an important thing there. Look at their offense. It's a very good offense because of who they have at receiver. Danny Amendola, Marvin Jones, Kenny Galladay.
Right.
3 guys who are very good. So even if, and they also have Jesse James at tight end, who is, and TJ Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got weapons all over the field. So if you can't cover Marvin Jones, he's going to hurt you. Kenny Galladay is very good. Danny Amendola is solid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of a pick your poison matchup for Atlanta. To me, this is 100% a trap. This game is absolutely a trap. And I think Atlanta will have a difficult time. Will they win? Depends on how that offense and defense is playing. So that one I'm going to have to put a question mark on, to be honest.
What? Okay. Well, that makes sense. I mean, your points are very valid. I definitely see when you say weapons all over the field. It's just a matter of, I think, of course, by game 1, game 2, week 3, week 4, we will be able to see like, okay, hey, the direction will change. Your question mark will then turn into an ultimate decision. So I agree with that.
Right.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and take it to Falcons are going to the Panthers. Another away game. Like I said before, I think that this is a no-brainer. The Falcons have to win. The Falcons have to sweep Carolina. It's the only way, because what's going to happen is if the Falcons do not beat Carolina, then that's going to make them out of the top 3. It's going to make them the weaker of the 3, and it's going to make the season even more difficult. So, Panthers is definitely a must win on both games. What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's a Thursday night game happening on the road in Carolina. Again, at this point, it's late October.
Mm-hmm.
But that matchup against that Carolina defense, in my opinion, is very favorable for Atlanta.
Yes.
It's something that it's a short week on the road. It will be tough, especially coming after a Lions game, which I feel like is going to be a lot closer than people may want to think it is. But Atlanta should win this one, so I'm going to go ahead and give them that game.
So where are we at now? Are we at 3?
So you have Atlanta winning the game against the Seahawks.
Right. Let me make
falling to Dallas, beating Chicago, falling to Green Bay, beating Carolina.
Okay.
And then you had them what did you have them against Minnesota? I don't even remember.
Minnesota, I didn't see it happening for the Falcons.
Okay, so that's a loss, and then you have them beating Detroit in a game that shouldn't be close. and then the Thursday night win against Carolina.
Okay, so that puts you at your question mark. What are we gonna do about your question?
We're gonna figure that out at the end. Put a pin in it. We're gonna put a pin in it.
Okay.
We'll put a pin in it. All right, so we're going to week 9 now.
Mm-hmm.
And Atlanta is hosting Denver instead of being in London
right.
in the National Series. So does that give the Falcons an advantage being at the Benz instead of overseas?
I think with the Broncos, you have Melvin Gordon, you have Von Miller, Drew Lock. I think that it is a similar game to playing like with the Lions. It's similar to playing the Lions. Last year they were 7-9. It's very, very important that the Falcons walk away with this win because the next week is a bye week and they need to come out strong, fresh, and ready for the Saints. So I do believe that just based on the matchups that the Falcons should definitely focus on winning this game. And how we're going to do that, I'm going to leave that to you because I kind of struggle with understanding what the Falcons are trying to do this year with the defense on the defensive end. So it kind of makes it a little more difficult for me to understand the Broncos.
Well, when you look at this Broncos offense, they've added a lot of speed. Deshaun Hamilton, speedy guy. Jerry Jeudy coming from Alabama, the rookie out of Alabama, drafted in the first round, very speedy guy. Cortland Sutton can go up and make a tough catch. I think one of the sleepers on their offense has to be Noah Fant.
Okay.
Big guy. He's a very solid tight end. I think he needed that first year to kind of get used to it. And Drew Lock kind of showed that he could be somebody solid for them at quarterback going to the future. Is he the future of that franchise?
Mm-hmm.
We're not sure right now.
Right.
But he showed that he was a solid quarterback. Melvin Gordon, of course, being who he is, he's pretty good. I'm not, you can't sleep on his speed, his ability to get out of the tackle. Phillip Lindsay, though, is a solid guy, and so is Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman has speed. Phillip Lindsay has what I like to call sneaky speed. He doesn't seem that fast, but he is.
But he gets fast. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and then you turn to the defense. I think the big thing here is they have A.J. Boye at cornerback, very good cornerback. And then, of course, you've got to deal with Von Miller. That's always tough dealing with him. So what happens there, I'm not sure. Bradley Chubb, though. Well, I wouldn't say another question mark.
Okay.
I would say the Denver is a team who does not make things easy for Atlanta as well. I think Atlanta did a number on Denver a couple of years ago. When you go back to 2016 when they went to Denver, but that's because of Kyle Shanahan. A lot of this doesn't necessarily have to do with the opponent. It has to do with, I don't know what Dirk Cutter and the Falcons are going to do on offense. I would say it's another question mark because there's just a lot we don't know.
You cannot do that. We cannot have more than one question.
That's my last one.
Last question mark. Okay.
That's the last one.
All right. So after we face the Broncos, or after the Falcons face the Broncos, we have a bye week 10. Week 11, first thing away in the Superdome or Mercedes-Benz Dome, New Orleans Saints. How do you feel about this? Of course, this is a big game for the Falcons. I think this matchup is going to be even bigger and better on both ends. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, this is a tough one. You're on the road. You're playing New Orleans in a game that I feel like at this point it's almost like a playoff type of field. So I feel like the division is going to start, coming in the shape. Who's going to win the division? Who's going to take that charge and be the team who wins the South? So New Orleans will be fighting for something there, I believe. Being in New Orleans, especially after what happened last year, they're going to be extra motivated. They didn't even score a touchdown against Atlanta. So I think the Saints come out with a win in this particular game.
All right, and so because this is the first division game, I decided to go ahead and count this one as a loss only because I have to respect the history of when we play the Saints, we always split. So if we're going to win, I would say that the Falcons would win at home versus away, just due to how the history has been.
That's fair. That's very fair. The next week is very interesting. The Las Vegas Raiders come to town.
Yes.
It's not often that the Raiders visit Atlanta. The last time I think that happened, the Raiders came to visit was 2012.
Wow.
And Atlanta won thanks to a pick six by Asante Samuel that kind of put the game away. I think Carson Palmer was a quarterback. It was a guy who was a veteran. He was a quarterback, but it was a long time ago.
Now they have Derek Carr, correct?
Completely different era.
Yes.
They do. So they have Derek Carr at quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And of course they have John Gruden as head coach, which is very interesting that he is back in the coaching game. Henry Ruggs III is that wide receiver. So is Tyrell Williams, another team that has very speedy wide receivers. That offensive line is pretty solid. They also have Jason Witten. Mm-hmm. And then they added Marcus Mariota as a backup. And then there's Josh Jacobs at running back, as well as Lynn Bowden, who was a wide receiver and a quarterback at Kentucky.
Okay.
They have them listed here as a running back.
Yeah, as far as Raiders go, I think that because they have a new team, basically. I wouldn't say new, but things are a lot new, with the coach coming in. I think chemistry may be an issue for them just starting out this first year. So I'm going to go ahead and count that one as a win for the Falcons because the Falcons pretty much, Dan Quinn's been the coach. You have Julio, you have Matt. These people have played together for years, and I think it's almost automatic and second nature for their decision-making. So I'm going to go ahead and walk away with a W for the Falcons.
Yeah, this is one of those games that Atlanta, they should win this one. Mm-hmm. Be able to walk out with a W and send Las Vegas back home with a loss. I think it doesn't need too much explanation. The Raiders, they don't really have an identity. So I think that's going to be a difficult one for them.
Definitely. All right. Home game, New Orleans Saints. And I think it's interesting how all the division games are kind of pushed to the end. And I know it was just in case the season had to be pushed back due to COVID-19. I do actually like it, and I really honestly feel like it should go this way every single season. If you think you're getting closer to the playoffs, I think these games right here prepare you mentally and physically for it. It could be a lot of wear and tear if you're like spending hours and hours trying to study and watch tape, things like that. But I do agree with the division games being moved to the end. Of course, my predictions would be that the Falcons will definitely win this one at home.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and say Atlanta gets swept by New Orleans. I don't. the Falcons fans in me is not going to allow me to say that.
Right.
Atlanta's going to have to take this one. It's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. Atlanta's going to take this one.
They're going to take it. All right. Week 14, December 13th, a couple weeks before Christmas, the Falcons are headed to Los Angeles to play the Chargers. Of course, you have Tyrod Taylor, Justin Hubert, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. What are your projections for this?
So every year I always say the Falcons have what I call a stupid loss. It's a game that they don't really have any business losing necessarily when you look at it on tape, but they end up losing in some way. I feel like that's what this game presents here.
Right.
The Chargers present what I believe is another bad matchup. When the Buffalo Bills came to Atlanta and Tyrod Taylor was their starting quarterback, and I said months before the season started, Atlanta is going to have a stupid loss.
Right.
Atlanta's going to have a stupid loss to the Buffalo Bills, and that's exactly what happened. So you take a look at it, Tyrod Taylor being a dual threat guy, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, both really good receivers. Austin Eckler, I feel like he could have a good day, but the defense is where my concern comes in. Melvin Ingram, and then Joey Bosa, Casey Hayward on that defense, Derwin James, Chris Harris Jr.
Okay.
That's a strong secondary. That is a strong defensive unit with a strong secondary. It's another one of those games. It's just, it looks like a bad matchup. And again, a lot of this really comes from, I don't necessarily believe in what what Dirk Cutter will do with this offense. So this one to me is a loss.
I think I'm going to count this one as a W. And the reason why I say that is because I'm looking at it from a quarterback standpoint. And I feel like Phillip Rivers isn't there anymore. Now you have Tyrod Taylor, but he's still not better than Matt Ryan. And so I think that the decision-making on the Falcons' behalf will be a lot better when they see that weakness. And I think it's just going to come down to the offense. So I'm going to count this one as a W for the Falcons.
Okay. All right, that's fair. So December 20th will be the first time Atlanta runs into Tom Brady. It'll be in Atlanta, December 20th, 1 p.m. on Fox. What do you think about Tom Brady coming to see Atlanta?
Tom Brady coming to see Atlanta is definitely going to be my favorite game. I'm excited to, for one, see what Brady is going to do with the Buccaneers. But more than likely, I think that we're facing someone who has 6 rings, 17 division titles, 9 Super Bowl appearances, 249 wins. I just feel like he is definitely, I would say, like the LeBron of the NFL to me. You have Mike Evans, you have Chris Goodwin, and then he's bringing Gronk out of retirement, which I think is pretty cool. But it's unfortunate. I feel like the Falcons are going to walk away at home. I think they're going to walk away with the L, only because I feel you have Chris Goodwin, who a lot of people don't understand. He had 1,000 yards receiving, and so did Mike Evans. I mean, Mike Evans is a big wide receiver. He's 6'5", 225 pounds. The Falcons haven't figured out defense yet. So hopefully by week 15, they come to terms with who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. But just starting out preseason, or season hasn't even started, preseason hasn't started, I'm definitely going to say that Mike Evans is going to be an issue. So will Tom Brady. I don't really know what Gronk is going to do coming back. But I think that as long as the Falcons apply pressure, that it should be a good game. But I'm still going to say overall this time I think the Falcons will take the L at home, and then maybe I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back because I'm thinking that the loss is going to come on the road. I think the Falcons usually on the road in someone else's stadium with all of their fans is kind of like an intimidation factor, and we usually happen to have that home team advantage, home field advantage, and I think that it's opposite. So I would say we know the matchups for each, but I really believe that the Falcons will win at home?
I think Tom Brady having that IQ, the football IQ that he does, will make things very tough. The fact that Jameis Winston came to Atlanta and torched Atlanta with the same receivers that Brady now has is a problem. Then you add in Gronkowski, so it's a problem everywhere.
Right,
it's a problem everywhere. What could hurt them is just that defense. That defense could hurt them. I think Devin White will be a force to be reckoned with. But that'll be a game where I could see that being like a 42-30 type of game. But Tampa Bay is going to win that first one just because we're talking about, at this point, there should be some chemistry. It's December at this point, so every team should be in midseason form. We should know who each team is. At this point, we know who these guys are.
Yes.
And that will be a loss to me.
That'll be a loss. And you said 42-30. I'm going to remember this.
42-30, something like that.
All right. So week 16, Kansas City Chiefs. Now, of course, this is another highly anticipated game. Defending Super Bowl champions. Reigning Super Bowl champions. You have Pat Mahomes. You have Sammy Watkins. What are your thoughts on this?
Do you look at this? You know what's so crazy? I saw something earlier about Kansas City. I want to read it off because if you take away the starting skill positions, that team is still good.
Right.
So if you do not have Tyreek Hill, right? You still have Mecole Hardman, and you still have Sammy Watkins as the 2 and the 3. And then let's keep Patrick Mahomes in there for this sake. But at running back, you take away Clyde Edwards-Helaire, the rookie. They still have Damian Williams, who scored those touchdowns in the Super Bowl to put the game away.
Can't forget about Travis Kelce, who's tight end.
Yeah, exactly. So Travis Kelce, so you take him away, that would hurt. There'll be a drop-off there. But you look at this team, you're like, hey, these brothers are stacked on offense. And then on defense, they're still extremely solid. I mean, we're talking about first of all, Frank Clark, sack machine,
right.
Alex Okafor, Tyrann Mathieu, Anthony Hitchens, Damian Wilson. That team is incredibly solid. And the other part of this is December 27th in Kansas City. It's gonna be snowing. It's gonna be snowing. It's a whole problem for Atlanta. That's a problem everywhere.
I definitely
Andy Reid knows how to get past Dan Quinn. He just does.
Yes, and I definitely think and agree that there are weapons all over the field. I don't see the Falcons pulling out of this one at all, like not even close. And you just pretty much validated why. It's just almost impossible. You have a very, very good offense, still solid defense, even if you just disregard offense as a whole. I definitely think the Falcons are going to struggle that game. So that one goes down as a loss.
For sure. All right. Last game of the season, January 3rd. Tampa Bay. This is, I don't know how many years in a row, but this is, I think, the 3rd year in a row Atlanta has ended the season in Tampa Bay.
In Tampa, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's exciting. So, contrary to the first game, I think that this is the actual game where the Falcons will take the loss in Tampa. They'll be in vacation mode. They'll be ready to party. It's the last end of the game, or all the fans will be. I just feel like, I don't say that the Falcons slack off at the end, but for some reason, I just feel like they kind of get to the end and they don't go out as strong as they would have. Fans just start to fall off or start to, not show up anymore. So I just feel like this is one of those games where even with the lineup and everything that we mentioned before, the matchups between the two, I don't see them walking away with a W.
Now here's where I'm gonna challenge you on this one, okay? And here's why.
Okay.
When you look at these teams,
okay,
and you're looking at the time that Atlanta has ended the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you take 2017 in December in Tampa Bay, they won.
Okay.
They won that game 24-21.
Okay.
In 2018, season finale, Atlanta came back from down 17-0 and won 34-32.
Okay.
And then this past season, go to overtime,
okay.
pick 6 to end the whole season 28-22.
So
no matter how weak Atlanta has the season, they find a way to end strong somehow, some way against Tampa Bay on the road.
Okay.
Which is, it's odd. Now, although 2017 they ended the season at home against Carolina, but still, you look at these December games, Atlanta somehow, some way finds a way to pull it off, and I think Atlanta has a chance to pull off an upset here, simply because that's what they do. You want to have week 17. NFL says okay, week 17 at Tampa Bay. Atlanta says that, and somehow pulls this game off because they just
Falcons beating the Buccaneers both times.
No. I had them losing at home.
You had them losing for the.
I have them losing at home, and then going to Tampa Bay and winning. Simply because even the weakest Falcons teams I've seen, week 17 is a week where they show out that game.
Right.
They always show out at the end of the season, and I think the Tampa Bay defense is their weak point, especially when you look at how strong that offense is. And Atlanta can step up to the plate. We've seen them do it.
Right.
They did it with San Francisco. They did it with New Orleans last year on the road. Atlanta has found a way to pull some things off on the road. So it's possible. I think Atlanta pulls off an upset there.
Yeah. Well, I obviously didn't look at the end of that season, but I have, like, just being a fan, I felt as if when it gets towards the end of the season, everybody kind of just clocks out. And I don't know if they do just show up for that one final game, but I definitely, I don't know, the focus. I mean, you good point. You proved it. You won that one.
Well, we ain't debating. I just want to make it apparent,
right,
that the NFL thinks it's funny to have Atlanta in the season at Tampa Bay.
At Tampa Bay
all the time. But the thing before that, what was so funny was between 2010 and 2017, week 17 was always at home for Atlanta. Atlanta always ended the year at home. So in Matt Ryan's career, 2009 was the only time in like the first 10 years of his career where he ended the season on the road, which was 2009 at Tampa Bay. And guess what? Atlanta won that game too.
Well, so what is the final? Did you add them all up? I think I switched up a couple times, maybe. And you have 2 question marks.
You switched up?
Yeah,
I have 2 question marks. Yes.
So let's see. I think let's retally this really quick.
To me, it sounds like an 8-8 season, and the ceiling sounds like 9-7.
I'm gonna go.
That's what it sounds like.
I'm gonna go 9-6 for the season. You said 8-8, right?
I said 8-8, and with the ceiling being 9-7 out of 16 games. It's hard to look at the schedule and pick 10 wins for this Falcons team.
I would say ceiling 10-6, but 9 and yeah, I think I'm 9-7. That's what I'll do. So 9-7, and then 10-6 being the ceiling.
Okay, that's fair. That is fair. I think so. Okay, so then here's this: is Dan Quinn fired between those two different records? Is 9-7 enough for him to keep his job?
9-7, because the Falcons were well below 500 last year. I think 9-7, they may give him another shot. Because to me, it's evident that they don't really want to necessarily get rid of him. It just makes sense to get him out of there if the Falcons just can't win. So I would say I don't agree with him staying, but I think that if it was a 9-7 season, that he would definitely still have a job.
For sure. I think anything below 10 wins, they need to consider moving on.
Right.
Because at that point, he has shown that, especially without Kyle Shanahan, it's difficult for the Falcons to win.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Before we go, did you have any final thoughts on the overall season?
This will be an interesting season. I'm going to tell you something, MiAsia. I want you to go back and think about all the president election years. The Falcons were really good.
Okay.
2004. Well, not all of them, but let's say in this century. Okay. 2004, 11-5, NFC South champions. 2008 was on the doorstep of being NFC South champions.
Yes.
However, Carolina Carolina lost or whatever happened. I think Carolina won in week 17. They beat the Saints or something like that.
Right.
And Carolina ended up winning the division. But Atlanta made the playoffs. 11-5, Matt Ryan's rookie year.
Right.
2012, 13-3, number 1 seed. 2016, NFC champions, almost won the Super Bowl. 2020, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think it's going to be a much better year than last year. And I think in regards to just the division, just football as a whole, the Falcons as a whole, I really think it's important that you're just better than your previous year. I mean, it's all about getting better and then moving those pieces around to see what you can pull out. So I'm excited. If you didn't have anything else, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. That concludes our 2020 Atlanta Falcons season premiere and schedule breakdown. We will love your feedback. Definitely feel free to comment below, hit the like and subscribe button. And you know what? It's talking dirty. You can keep it clean. David Schiele and MiAsia Symone.